We begin in Iran, where protests over the rising cost of living are spreading rapidly amid a deepening economic crisis. The resignation of Iran's central bank chief has only intensified public anger. Across more than 100 cities and towns, people have taken to the streets demanding freedom and accountability. From Tehran to the most remote provinces, the message is the same. The people have had enough. But behind the burning streets lies an even darker fire. While ordinary Iranians risk their lives in protest, serious allegations suggest the regime has been quietly emptying the country's treasury. One of Iran's largest private banks, Ayande Bank, has officially declared bankruptcy. At the same time, reports claim that over $5.2 billion have mysteriously disappeared. Today on WarlogicX, we go beyond the headlines. We investigate the financial collapse, the hidden corruption, the billion-dollar unsecured loans, and the secret documents allegedly leaked from Iran's central bank. What we uncover paints a picture not just of economic failure, but of deliberate betrayal. Before examining the financial scandal, we must understand the public rage. During recent protests, more than 50 banks and state institutions across Iran were attacked or burned. Among them were Bank Keshavarzi, Bank Kaparan, Bank Saman, and Bank Eitzad Novin. These were not random targets. Many citizens believe these institutions are deeply connected to corruption networks linked to powerful elites. Instead of reflecting on why people were angry, the regime responded with denial and greed. Years of mismanagement, interference, and exploitation have pushed Iran's banking system toward collapse. At the center of this storm stands Ayande Bank. Marketed as a private bank, it allegedly functioned as a tool for money laundering and wealth transfer for regime insiders. When protests intensified in early 2026, the system began to collapse. Ayande Bank's bankruptcy revealed a terrifying truth. The money was gone. Ordinary citizens' life savings had vanished. What appeared at first as a financial accident now looks more like a carefully designed internal theft. A system built to protect the elite while the public paid the price. Investigations into Ayande Bank exposed shocking details. Nearly 98% of its loans were non-performing, meaning they were never meant to be repaid. Over $1.3 billion was distributed to only 61 individuals without any collateral. These were not ordinary business people. They were figures connected to the regime, the military, and powerful political networks. Depositors believed their money was safe. In reality, the bank operated like a massive Ponzi scheme. New deposits were used to cover old losses, while huge amounts were funneled into risky or politically connected projects. When the bank's remaining assets were transferred to a state institution, the true scale of corruption became visible. But the financial collapse was only one side of the story. A leaked confidential document from Iran's central bank suggested that the regime was preparing for a much larger disaster. Banks were instructed to switch to emergency mode, secure sensitive data, activate backup systems, and prepare alternative payment networks. This was not normal crisis management. It looked like preparation for the possible collapse of the state itself. Investigations into Ayande Bank exposed shocking details. Nearly 98% of its loans were non-performing, meaning they were never meant to be repaid. Over $1.3 billion was distributed to only 61 individuals without any collateral. These were not ordinary business people. They were figures connected to the regime, the military, and powerful political networks. Depositors believed their money was safe. In reality, the bank operated like a massive Ponzi scheme. New deposits were used to cover old losses, while huge amounts were funneled into risky or politically connected projects. When the bank's remaining assets were transferred to a state institution, the true scale of corruption became visible. But the financial collapse was only one side of the story. A leaked confidential document from Iran's central bank suggested that the regime was preparing for a much larger disaster. Banks were instructed to switch to emergency mode, secure sensitive data, activate backup systems, and prepare alternative payment networks. This was not normal crisis management. It looked like preparation for the possible collapse of the state itself. The economic consequences have been devastating. By early 2026, Iran's currency suffered one of the worst devaluations in its history. Inflation surpassed 50%, destroying purchasing power. Families struggled to afford basic necessities. Perhaps most significant was the reaction of the traditional merchant class. Shop owners in Tehran, Mashhad, Isfahan, and other major cities began closing their businesses in protest. Historically, when bazaars close in Iran, political change often follows. Merchants refused to pay taxes, bills, and fees, attempting to economically suffocate the system they believed was exploiting them. The regime responded with its familiar tactic: control information. Internet shutdowns were used to suppress communication. However, this time technology pushed back. Satellite internet access allowed protesters to remain connected, allowing images and videos to reach the outside world. For the first time in years, censorship began to crack. The world could now see what was happening inside Iran in real time. As communication reopened, protests intensified. Demonstrations spread from Tehran to cities long considered strongholds of the regime. Ethnic, religious, and social divisions began to fade as people united around a shared frustration. This unity posed a serious threat. Reports also suggested growing fractures within the security forces. Some officers allegedly expressed dissatisfaction over unpaid wages and uncertain futures. A system that once relied on loyalty and fear now faced internal doubt. At the same time, rumors grew that families of powerful political figures were seeking foreign visas and exploring life abroad. These claims further damaged the regime's credibility. Leaders who preached sacrifice to their people appeared to be preparing escape routes for themselves. This contrast deeply angered the public. The idea that the elite might abandon the country while ordinary citizens remained trapped became one of the most powerful symbols of perceived betrayal. The political landscape also began shifting online. Symbols once controlled by the regime lost influence, while historical and national symbols gained renewed popularity. Opposition voices became more coordinated. Calls for international attention grew stronger. What makes this moment unique is that the movement is no longer only about economic hardship. It represents a deeper rejection of decades of political control, corruption, and suppression. Many Iranians are no longer demanding reform. They are demanding transformation. The combination of economic collapse, public protest, elite mistrust, and international scrutiny has created a highly unstable environment. The alleged movement of wealth out of the country, the collapse of financial institutions, and the erosion of legitimacy are all signs of a system under extreme pressure. History shows that when public fear disappears, even the strongest systems begin to weaken. The image emerging from Iran today is one of contradiction. On one side, empty bank vaults, collapsing institutions, and political uncertainty. On the other, crowded streets filled with voices that refuse to remain silent. You cannot imprison the spirit of an entire nation. You cannot hide the truth forever. The collapse of trust between the people and those in power has created a moment that will shape Iran's future for years to come. Whether this leads to reform, transformation, or further instability remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the era of silence is ending. The world is watching, the people are speaking, and history is moving. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe the Iranian people can reclaim what they feel was taken from them? Or will the current leadership survive this crisis? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep analysis, real stories, and hidden truths, subscribe to WarlogicX. Stay sharp, stay informed, stay with the truth.